Part 10. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 91. Chapter 91 Scientific Reproduction of the Teleportation Array. Everyone had no time to pay attention to Wang Jing's mood at this moment. They were all focused on what Shen Yun said. Now that the formation has been resolved, the matter of rescuing people must also be put on the agenda. Come on, follow me and go in first to take a look. Shen Yun led the way inside. After this period of rest, no one felt tired when they entered the woods. Shen Yun took the nearest road with everyone, heading directly towards the formation. The group of people were not as fast as she alone, and it was almost noon when they arrived. The soil on the formation was blown away, and the grand and simple teleportation array appeared in front of everyone. What formation is this? Wang Jing asked first. Judging from his professional knowledge, he has never seen this formation diagram. While asking questions, I took out my tools and started recording them on my own paper. This is an ancient two-way teleportation array. Do you see the glowing thing in the middle? It's the eye of the array. It absorbs the energy of sunlight. The energy inside should be fully charged in these 2 days. By then, the teleportation array will be full. Start, if those missing people really disappeared here, they should appear here by then, Shen Yun and everyone said carefully. Did the ancients discover the use of solar energy technology? Li Ming, who was recording data next to him, also took the time to ask. It should be using the fire energy in the sun. Shen Yun only knows about solar water heaters, but she really doesn't understand other solar energy. It has been 3 days since the missing person. If we go by the previous statistics, if nothing unexpected happens, he will be able to come out the day after tomorrow. Yan Han was also measuring the data of this formation together. Shen Yun looked at the movements of several people and was a little stunned. Does the formation need to be measured? What are you doing? Are we trying to find a way to save people? Shen Yun couldn't help but ask. Measure the data first, then go back and replicate it. Our country also has solar energy technology now, let's see if we can come up with something. Li Ming replied naturally. Obviously this was not the first time he had done such a thing. Shen Yun felt as if he had opened up a new world when he heard it. It turned out that the formation could not be activated by spiritual energy like cultivating immortals, but could also be reproduced using scientific methods. Then when you finished engraving it, can you show it to me? Shen Yun asked. You have to ask the boss about this, Li Ming said softly. Okay. Shen Yun nodded and turned directly to Yan Han. Captain Yan, can you show me when the formation is being re-engraved? Shen Yun came over to discuss. Okay, I'll let you know when the time comes. I may need your help with some things. Yan Han agreed readily. Need my help? Let me tell you first, there is no way I can create this formation with my current ability, Shen Yun declared in advance. Yan Han nodded and said nothing more. The few people were very fast, and the measurements and records were completed in a short time. Shen Yun saw that not only the complete data of the formation was on the map, but also the material of the formation base and the patterns engraved on it were clearly recorded. You are indeed a professional person. Then are we just waiting now? Wang Jing finished his work and approached Shen Yun and asked. If you have a way to provide energy for this teleportation array, then we don't have to wait. Shen Yun looked at Wang Jing and said. Wang Jing was speechless. What kind of energy? Can the flashlight battery in the bag be used? Looking at the underground formation, I knew it would definitely not work. Camp on the spot and observe and record the changes in the past 2 days. The severe cold record was completed and the decision was made immediately. Several army men immediately put down their packages and took things from inside. Shen Yun then realized that there was a small tent and a sleeping bag inside the package. Looking at their actions, Shen Yun also put down her own package. She was familiar with setting up a tent and didn't need anyone's help. She could do it in a while. The 10 tents are lined up one after another, which looks quite spectacular. A group of people camped here for 2 days. Shen Yun was not idle these 2 days. She visited all the places she could go in the danger zone, and a lot of plateau plants were added to the space. Master Shen, don't run away today. It's already the 5th day. Can you see if the energy of this teleportation array is enough? This morning, Shen Yun was washing outside the tent when he was stopped by Wang Jing, who hurried over. Shen Yun spit out the water in her mouth and nodded. She didn't plan to go out today. She went to the teleportation array early in the morning and walked around. The energy of the array I was completely full. The teleportation array may be opened at any time. Shen Yun planned to go directly to the teleportation array when it opened to see where he could be sent. If there is really a secret realm over there, it will be very helpful for my experience. I have space in my hands and defensive magic weapons. In a secret realm where ordinary people can survive, the chance of encountering danger should be low. After a simple breakfast, a group of people gathered in front of the teleportation array. As soon as Shen Yun arrived, he felt a mysterious fluctuation in the teleportation array, and then he felt a trace of spiritual energy slowly spreading out from the teleportation array. It seems that the teleportation array has started working. Just when Shen Yun was about to remind everyone, he saw the teleportation array dimly light up, then flash, and 4 people appeared on it. Haired and disgraced, with blood stains on his clothes, he didn't look very good. You guys come here quickly, Shen Yun quickly waved. Looking at the light of the teleportation array, it would be a second teleportation if he didn't come over. It would be tragic if he was teleported back again. Several people also noticed the glowing lines under their feet, as well as Shen Yun and others standing next to them. They quickly put away their confused expressions and helped each other out. Are you okay? Several soldiers stood beside the teleportation array and caught a few people. The few people who went in must be acquainted with the people outside. Now that they see familiar people, their faces will be less wary. Where did we go a few days ago, and why are you here? Those people did not answer their questions, but asked about their doubts. We don't know where you are. We were ordered to come in to rescue you. You are in very bad condition. Let's fix it first and then report and summarize the mission. Several soldiers over there hurriedly helped the wounded over. Treatment. People from the special department still stay here to record data. Captain Yan, I estimate that this teleportation array will be activated again. I plan to go in and see what is going on here, Shen Yun and Yan Han said. No, we're not sure what's going on inside. We can't let you go in and take risks. Yan Han rejected Shen Yun's request. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 92. Chapter 92. Entering the teleportation array. Sooner or later it will be risky to go in. Besides, if I don't go in now, who can go in? If you really don't allow me to go in, then I will go in as an individual. Anyway, I work part-time, and now it is my overtime time. The person has been rescued, and the overtime thing is over. Shen Yun discussed with Yan Han carefully. Hearing what Shen Yun said, Yan Han choked. No matter what, this girl had to go in, right? The situation inside is not clear yet. It won't be too late for us to find a way to get in after the brother departments explain the situation clearly, Yan Han said patiently. Captain, you should have seen the aura light spots when the teleportation array was activated just now. Do you think the situation inside is something that a few ordinary people can understand? In this situation, if I don't take the initiative to find out whether there are any potential dangers for the country, then my documents will be in vain. Shen Yun said with indignation. Anyway, it just meant the same thing. It would be of great benefit for her to go in. No, Yan Han's attitude remained firm. He could not make fun of anyone's life. Okay, forget it if it doesn't work. This person has been rescued. My support mission this time is over. I'm going to do my own thing. Shen Yun seemed to have compromised and made it clear to Yan Han. Walked aside and watched Li Ming and the others recording. Although his eyes were not looking at the teleportation array, his consciousness was always paying attention to the changes on the other side of the teleportation array. The moment the familiar light lit up, Shen Yun dodged and entered the teleportation array directly. Captain Yan, I'm going to do my own thing. You can go back first. As soon as Shen Yun finished speaking, he disappeared from the spot, and the teleportation array also dimmed. Several people outside were stunned. Boss, what is going on? Is she dying? She didn't bring anything to eat, and she got into the teleportation array alone, Zhou Yu said while recalling what Shen Yun had just said. The movement up to the teleportation array was clean and sharp, like a sharp sword, without any hesitation. It seemed that Master Shen was still a kung fu master. Seeing Chen Yun disappearing, Yan Han stood there with a dark face. When he saw the tents and supplies left on the spot, he became even more angry. The mission is over. It turns out that I am blocking myself here. This is because the person has run away and there is nothing you can do about it, right? Yan Han held his breath and directly told others to do what they should do. Several people recorded the changes in the teleportation array. The severe cold didn't stay here much longer. Counting the time, it would take 5 days for Shen Yun to come out. Now he had to send the injured back for treatment first, and then proceed with the next step. Shen Yun knew that she might be punished if she went out, but she didn't care anymore. As soon as she stepped into the teleportation array, she saw a world filled with ice and snow in the blink of an eye. The cold air made Shen Yun feel cold all over, but the aura in the air made Shen Yun's eyes shine. The spiritual energy here is particularly rich, even richer than the current spiritual energy in my own space. Shen Yun took a deep breath and felt that the spiritual energy flowed directly into the muscles and veins along his internal organs. Without the need to meditate, the exercises slowly started to work. Resisting the decision to start practicing immediately, Shen Yun started walking forward. The entire snowfield was completely white, and he could not see the edges or the existence of other living things. But the information he saw before coming in said that someone saw a monster inside. Shen Yun still did not dare to take it lightly. The Qingfeng sword was taken out directly and held in his hand. The clothes on his body were directly changed into robes that were convenient for movement, invulnerable to cold and heat, and had defensive functions. This is the only one in the space. Shen Yun has always been reluctant to wear it before. Now in this place full of spiritual energy, she doesn't dare to wear it. Who knows if there will be monsters who have cultivated into old monsters here over the years. Beasts or spiritual beasts, if you have a good temper, it's easy to say, but if you have a bad temper, I'm afraid that if you don't have a claw or a tail, you won't have time to enter the space, so I'll explain it here. The vast snowfield was undulating. Shen Yun walked for a long time before he saw a white plant with small blue flowers in the snow. As soon as he saw something, Chen Yun's heart moved. This was the snow elf recorded in the book. It was a necessary herb for refining the foundation building pill and the barrier breaking pill. He did not have it in his own space. Chen Yun stepped over in 2 steps. This large area was full of snow elves. He didn't know how many years they had grown. Anyway, Chen Yun looked at the oldest one. It was a 5,000-year-old one. This one was not used to refine buildings. It's not a base pill, but a material used to refine the barrier-breaking pill. Shen Yun carefully took out several jade boxes for storing medicinal materials from the space. All the snow elves that were over 1,000 years old were dug out. There are no snowy conditions in my own space, so I can only put it in the jade box first. Looking at the snow elves all around him, Chen Yun dug out dozens more and placed them in the space. If these were used to refine the foundation establishment pill, it would be enough to refine hundreds of them. Looking at the remaining large snow elves, Shen Yun left here directly. As a future alchemist, of course he would not do anything to eradicate the weeds. By keeping these, he could harvest more in the future. The long snowy field has never ended. Shen Yun is the only one in the world. Shen Yun feels like he has walked for a long time, but in fact, half a day has not passed yet. Shen Yun's consciousness has been paying attention to whether there are any other spiritual plants nearby. Who knows that Lingzi did not encounter them, but he noticed a group of gray-white wolves slowly surrounding him. Shen Yun jumped and reached a higher position nearby, where he saw a group of wolves with blue eyes and gray-white fur surrounding him. They looked particularly good-looking. They looked at him as if they were prey. Shen Yun knew that these wolves were coming with bad intentions. There are 13 wolves in total. The largest one is a level 4 monster, and the others are also level 2 and level 1. It seems that this is the monster beast recorded in the book. Although the cultivation level of the group of wolves in front of me is not high, if they attack in a group, they will not have the advantage. Shen Yun took out his accustomed bell, looked at the wolves slowly surrounding him, and gently shook the bell. Suddenly, a light sound rang out in the quiet world. The wolves were very close now. The sound of the bell was very effective. The first level monsters had stopped in place, and the second level monsters also hesitated. Shen Yun seized the opportunity and took action quickly, killing 2 first level ones and 1 second level one at once. Ouch! Shen Yun didn't expect that the Wolf King who was far away next to him was not a simple thing. He woke up from the control so quickly, and with a cry, he directly released his control. The ones next to him pounced directly on him. Shen Yun rolled to avoid the attack, and swung the sword in his hand, and the fireball technique also flew out. The sword stabbed a first-level wolf, but the fireball did not burn the wolf's fur as he imagined. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 93. Chapter 93. How about making fried rice while the eggs are still there? The fireball seemed to have encountered water, popping out before it even touched the wolf's fur. Shen Yun rolled over several times, dodged the sharp fangs, and rolled out of the encirclement. Standing up neatly, he saw that the wolves on the opposite side had already prepared an attack posture. Maybe a few wolves died, which made the pack of wolves on the opposite side more ferocious. The alpha wolf seemed to be directing the battle and howled more sadly. Although the monsters he fights are not high-level monsters, it is still a headache for people like this who are good at group attacks. She took out the bell and continued to shake it. This sonic attack is very effective against low-level monsters. Although there is a wolf's roar that interferes, it is still effective against level 1 wolves. Since the fireball didn't work, Shen Yun didn't use other spells to attack and directly held the Qingfeng sword. Hooking up the sword flower, he fought with the wolves that were besieging him again. The sword shuttled among the wolves like a wandering dragon, bringing up sword energy. The thick snow on the ground was scattered everywhere by the sword energy. The wolf's howl in the distance became even more shrill. Shen Yun looked at the wolves in front of him who were working together more and more tacitly, and became more energetic. The sword blade left blood marks on the wolf's body. She herself was covered in blood. Looking at the immobile wolf carcasses lying on the ground, the pack gradually began to retreat, and the voice of the first wolf also changed. Looking at another snow wolf that fell to the ground, the wolves next to it gradually faded away. Shen Yun held his sword and looked at the alpha wolf in the distance. A pair of blue eyes could not see any emotion clearly, but there were only screams, and the wolves next to them retreated in that direction even faster. Shen Yun stood still until the wolves over there disappeared. Shen Yunke used his sword to support his body. The spiritual energy in his body has been used up. Fortunately, he used the 8 wolves underground to frighten the wolves. If they persisted in biting him, he would really be in trouble today. A cleansing spell, the blood stains on the robes and sword are completely cleaned. With the thought in his mind, Qingfeng disappeared. Looking at the wolf corpses next to him, Shen Yun sat down and began to meditate. The aura inside is very rich, and Shen Yun does not need to enter the space to restore the aura. Leaving a trace of mental alertness, she directly entered a state of trance. The spiritual energy washed over the body rapidly. By the time Shen Yun's meditation was over, the spiritual energy in the body had returned to a full state. The body has also returned to its best condition. Shen Yun was about to get up and stretch his muscles when he felt something was on his knees. The egg he put in the spirit beast bag ran to his knees at some point, and was now firmly welded to it, motionless. The spiritual energy on the side swirled and poured into the egg. Shen Yun was stunned for a moment. It looked like the egg had not eaten for hundreds of years. This spiritual energy flows faster than when I first started practicing. Shen Yun looked at it without moving. After a while, he felt that the egg's capacity for spiritual energy was greater than his own at the 8th level of Qi training. Maybe there is a big eater here. Shen Yun looked at the egg on his knees and wondered whether there was a glutton inside the egg. Then you won't be able to raise it by yourself when it hatches. Perhaps the whole planet will be dazzled by it by then. How about making fried rice with eggs while they are still in their infancy? Shen Yun sat in the whirlpool of spiritual energy, thinking and feeling the improvement of spiritual energy in his body. At this moment, it's like a plug-in has been turned on. There is no cultivation, and the cultivation level is slowly improving. While Shen Yun was thinking, the egg suddenly shook on his knees, and the spiritual energy vortex paused for a second. The egg seemed to have burped, and the next spiritual energy was not as exaggerated as it was just now, and it slowly penetrated into it one by one. Shen Yun won't get any dividends if he's by his side. You can really eat it. Shen Yun picked up the eggs with his hands and prepared to put them in the spirit animal bag and move on. This unfamiliar space looked quite big. Thinking about the snow elves in your own space, I wonder if there are any other good things in there. Unexpectedly, this would not go as I expected. As soon as I stuffed it in, the egg appeared in my hand again. What's going on? You're not willing to go in, are you? Since you don't want to go in, why did you stay so honest in there some time ago? Shen Yun muttered to himself while weighing the eggs. Of course the egg didn't give her any response, it still occupied her palm like a normal egg. Since you don't want to be in the spirit beast bag, then I can't take you with me. You should just stay in the secret realm and absorb the spiritual energy, lest I break you. Then I can't even make egg fried rice. Chen Yun thoughtfully made a snow nest next to him. If it doesn't hatch, at least it can become an ice egg, which is better than a rotten egg. I'll leave this for you. Shen Yun didn't care whether the egg understood or not, and put the egg directly into the snow nest. Clap your hands and get ready to get up, put the wolf corpse away, and then leave here. Unexpectedly, the egg in Swo jumped up as if it had been burned, and jumped directly onto Shen Yun's shoulder. Hey, you still have to rely on me now, right? I just said that you can understand people's words and you still don't respond to me. Let me ask you a few questions first. If you don't answer, I will put them in the snow nest for you. When I found this egg last time, I knew it was not simple. Today I saw that the amount of spiritual energy it absorbs is not what ordinary eggs should have. After a few tests, I realized that this thing was probably not a simple species. Otherwise, how could an ordinary thing look like this inside an egg? The egg remained motionless at first. After waiting for a long time, it seemed that he understood what Shen Yun was talking about, and then moved it carefully in Shen Yun's hand. Are you a glutton? Shen Yun was more concerned about this issue. If he made this killer weapon by himself, then he would be both a sinner, and he would not be able to pay off the karma he carried in his lifetime. The egg bounced again after a while. What do you mean? You're jumping around, not just swaying, Shen Yun said immediately. Shen Yun is probably the only one in ancient and modern times to point to an egg and ask what species it is. But this was a smart guy, and Shen Yun was fooled after a while. Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't think about whether the baby had self-awareness problems. Anyway, if it was confirmed, she believed it. Do you eat a lot? Shen Yun thought it was better to confirm this question first, otherwise he might not be able to afford it if he becomes a big eater. The egg shook again after a while, confirming these two issues. Shen Yun was relieved a lot. As long as he was not a glutton and not so edible, it should not be so scary. It's better to wait until we go back and study all the ancient mythical beasts, and then ask again. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 94. Chapter 94. Beat the little ones and come to the ancestors. Okay, just stay outside for now. Judging from the way you were on my knee just now, it shouldn't be a problem to squat on my shoulder. Shen Yun directly put the egg on his shoulder again. As expected, it felt as if the egg was welded to it and would not fall down when he moved. Shen Yun felt relieved, put away the spirit beast bag, and stood up directly. Take a few steps forward. The egg is still standing firmly on your shoulder, slowly absorbing the spiritual energy. Shen Yun ignored it and walked directly to several wolf corpses and took them into the space. She was no longer a novice in cultivation. A monster with cultivation like this had its own uses. Shen Yun planned to put it away and process it slowly. Anyway, it wouldn't get damaged if it was left in space. After processing these, slowly walked in the direction just now. I don't know if this snowy area is the territory of wolves. Anyway, Shen Yun has never encountered other monsters. However, there are many spiritual plants and grasses living in the snowy area. Shen Yun picked the older ones. Put a lot of it into the space. It took a day and a half to finally get out of the snowy area. Although the entire space has turned black, Shen Yun can still feel the change in climate and the change in the soil under his feet. This change was sudden and without any warning. Shen Yun felt the touch under her feet, scanned the distance with her consciousness, and silently stepped back a few times. She planned to stay in the snowy area until dawn before moving forward tomorrow. He directly chose a place to meditate and practice on the spot. When the sky got brighter, Shen Yun opened his eyes. There is no sun in the sky, but not far away where it meets the snowy area, there is an endless expanse of yellow sand, which is still hot and feels like it is steaming. Shen Yun didn't pay attention to this. She glanced at the footprints she stepped on the sand yesterday. The ground was now occupied by dense scorpions. The raised tail needle is emitting a faint light, which clearly indicates that it is highly poisonous. Fortunately, I didn't step on it rashly last night. Otherwise, even if I were a cultivator, being surrounded by so many things and taking a few bites would be enough for me. Shen Yun felt the aura of the scorpions and immediately decided to change his route. The level of these scorpions was not high. According to Shen Yun's feelings, they were at most the strength of a first-level monster. Some were not yet the first level, but it was true that they could not stand it. There were so many, ants could kill an elephant, but she didn't dare to boast. Shen Yun turned around and walked a few steps when he felt the inconspicuous egg on his shoulder bounce twice. When he turned around, he saw a perfect parabola starting from his shoulder and then landing on the pile of scorpions over there. Killed several scorpions. Shen Yun discovered for the first time that this thing is quite provocative. There is no grievance or enmity. Why are you provoking that thing? Shen Yun stood there and saw the little egg that was not very flexible yesterday. It was like it had taken a stimulant, jumping up and down, relying on the scorpion's tail needle to bite it through the eggshell, and it was there with all its strength. There was a buzz around the edges, and a large number of them died within a short time. The first level monsters were somewhat smarter and knew that they could not afford to be provoked and could hide, so they began to retreat into the sand in an orderly manner after a while. Shen Yun saw a slightly excited egg and a large number of smashed scorpions left on the spot. The weight of an egg was so terrifying that hundreds of scorpions were crushed to death. Shen Yun was amazed. "Little Binda, stop jumping there, let's go." Shen Yun called to the eggs over there and planned to continue the detour. There was nowhere for the eggs to bite. His mortal body could not withstand the siege of thousands of scorpions. Unexpectedly, the egg ignored him this time and continued to jump around, as if he was still a little anxious. Shen Yun took a few steps back and stood on the snowy field to check the situation. He saw eggs jumping back and forth on different scorpions. To kill a scorpion, you still have to whip the corpse? Do you want me to take these things away? Shen Yun looked at them for a while and asked tentatively. Egg, whose reaction was a little slow yesterday, immediately started jumping around like crazy. Shen Yun looked at the complete or incomplete scorpion corpses underground with a rare feeling of disgust. Get a box from the space, get all the scorpions in the ground, and then put it away. Okay, I put it away, we can leave now. As soon as Shen Yun finished speaking, he saw the eggs jumping excitedly towards the desert. Let's go this way, Shen Yun shouted quickly. The egg, which reacted very quickly just now, will continue to jump forward as if it didn't hear Shen Yun's words. Since the sand would not break its shell, Shen Yun's unscrupulous look made Shen Yun's teeth itch. Shen Yun looked at the boundless snowy land and the grassless desert, and finally decided to keep up with the jumping eggs in front of him. As soon as I set foot in the desert, I was not besieged by a group of scorpions as I thought. There was nothing in the calm wind and waves, except for a little scorpion next to me. Yes, it jumped back to Shen Yun. It was intentional to jump in just now. Shen Yun could feel the mischief it had just done from the traces it left on the sand. Originally, Shen Yun decided to put it on his shoulders to avoid being burned into a bad guy, but now Shen Yun decided to watch it jump around for a while. He took a step forward and walked away. Little Benda kept following him and didn't even jump on him. He seemed to particularly like the desert environment. Seeing the scorpion, before Shen Yun could take action, it was smashed to death by Xiaobenda. Shen Yun even picked it up and weighed it. It was indeed no different from an egg. Shen Yun couldn't understand why it was so soft. The scorpion was crushed to death in the sand. However, its movements saved Shen Yun a lot of trouble. It was the fact that he was asked to pick up scorpions along the way that made Shen Yun a little distressed. Little Banky, we have already collected 3 boxes. Please restrain yourself and smash them down. These scorpions will become protected animals, Shen Yun couldn't help but warn. Maybe the fun of Xiaobenda has passed, but he has restrained himself a lot. At least he will not dig into the sand and drive out the scorpions and smash them. One person jumped forward all the way. Because there was an egg beside him, Shen Yun did not encounter any danger. He also collected several kinds of desert-specific spiritual herbs. Shen Yun used earth magic to create a small desert in the fairy mansion space. Then a lot of each of these plants were transplanted, and a lot of them were collected in the jade box. Shen Yun was happily picking herbs when he saw a little bunda playing on the sand in the distance, which was lifted up to the sky by something coming out of the ground. Shen Yun dodged over to catch the falling egg. Before he could stand still, he felt the ground tremble, and then a huge tail needle appeared in front of him, and then the whole thing appeared. A huge scorpion. I can't feel it because of my cultivation level. It must be higher than my own. Shen Yun looked at the 2-story high scorpion in front of him, and Qingfeng appeared directly in his hands. This is the ancestor who beats the little ones. It's not possible if he doesn't come up. The little eggs are jumping over. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 95. Chapter 95, Things Are Going Wrong. Although his cultivation level is higher than his own, he can't be cowardly at this moment. The little jumper jumps on top of other people's heads and dances. He makes this naughty egg trap miserable, looking at the high-raised tail needle. I knew that I would definitely be in trouble today. The big scorpion shook off the little fleas jumping on his head several times, and rushed towards Shen Yun with the flying dust. Shen Yun first got himself a spiritual energy mask to avoid squinting in the sand dust, and then raised his sword and attacked directly towards the opposite side. Evading the scorpion's big pincers, Shen Yun stabbed the scorpion's back with his sword. There was a ding sound, leaving no trace on it, but Shen Yun felt that his hand was numb from the shock. Flying to avoid another large pliers that quickly overtook him. Rolling on the spot and dodging the attack of the tail needle, Shen Yun looked embarrassed and distanced himself from Scorpion. Shaking his numb arm, Shen Yun looked at the small egg that looked like it was stuck on the head of a scorpion. Shen Yun was really worried that it would get too big and break the eggshell. But there was no time to care about this now. The scorpion's tail needle over there pierced him again, and Shen Yun quickly avoided the counterattack. Scorpion was indeed stronger than him. Although he was huge, his flexibility was not bad at all. Shen Yun could only resist with difficulty. He took the time to stab Scorpion twice with his sword and throw out several magic attacks. I don't know what kind of material its shell is made of, but it is more powerful than my own robe. Not only can it resist physical attacks, but even magical attacks leave no trace on it. Shen Yun glanced at the injured and tattered cassock and said, "Xiao Benda, let's retreat first. We can't fight now anyway, this secret realm is a big place, and he doesn't worry about the scorpions running out. Shen Yun thinks it's right to run away if he can't fight. I will feel more confident when I get stronger before I start to stir up trouble." Shen Yun even ran out a few steps, but when he looked back, he saw that the scorpion chasing him had an egg on its head. It was so conspicuous on the scorpion that Shen Yun could not even see it. Scorpion was extremely fast on the sand, and Shen Yun's escape plan failed within a few seconds. Feeling the huge shadow falling above his head, he raised his Qingfeng sword, endured the numbness in his arm, rolled in the air, and directly avoided the large pliers coming from behind. It seems that this guy is not going to let him go. Sure enough, the Huo family just had too many children and grandchildren. Shen Yun braced himself to fight against the big scorpion. Anyway, he still had some room to cover up. With the use of mana and swordsmanship, the spiritual energy in the body is also rapidly consumed. The yellow sand kept churning, and the light of sword energy and magic kept shining. The long sword was inserted into the joint of the pliers, finally breaking through the defense of the scorpion's shell. Shen Yun exerted all his strength, and one of the pliers was cut off by the sword energy. The body was also thrown out by the tail needle that followed. Shen Yun looked at the other pliers that were coming to clamp him, and was about to duck into the space to hide. Anyway, the fight didn't stop the little egg from jumping on the scorpion's head. Shen Yun felt that it would be fine. You'd better protect yourself first. But the moment he entered the space, a sudden change occurred, and Shen Yun was directly carried into the sand by the rolling scorpion. The imaginary attack did not come, but there was a hissing and banging sound in my ears. Shen Yun quickly pulled himself out of the sand. He looked up and saw a stunned scene. The big scorpion that had just attacked him was rolling on the ground, as if it had been stimulated by something. The hissing sound was also transmitted by scorpions. Shen Yun had never known that scorpions could still make a sound, and it was a very frequent sound. The spiritual consciousness spread out in an instant, and no other animals were found. So what is the situation with this scorpion? Shen Yun stared over there carefully. The moment the scorpion turned out of the sand, he discovered that the little egg that was jumping on the top of the scorpion was gone, and a hole appeared on the hard top. Shen Yun was a little in disbelief, and used his spiritual sense to check it again. It is indeed a hole the size of an egg. This little egg is really powerful. Feng couldn't do anything about it, but it persevered and conquered even such a big scorpion. It said it was even more powerful than itself. Shen Yun looked at the scorpion, which was moving more and more slowly, with a complicated mood. He originally wanted to save the egg, but he was saved by it in the end. This egg fried rice is definitely not enough to be eaten. I tidied up my embarrassment and looked at the damaged cassocks all over my body. I felt very distressed. I only had space for this one. I had not yet learned the skills of making cassocks. It seemed that I would only be able to buy more ordinary clothes in the future. Shen Yun really didn't expect that the most expensive thing since he started cultivating was not money, but clothes. When the movement over there finally stopped, Shen Yun saw the little egg coming out of the hole on the top of the scorpion. Then, just like before, he motioned for himself to put it away. Shen Yun was already familiar with its movements and directly just take this big guy into the space. You are really capable. Not only did you kill other people's descendants, but you also spared their ancestors. You had a grudge against Scorpion in your previous life, right? Shen Yun touched the hand that had returned to his shoulder. Egg, from now on you will be officially named Little Bunda. Do you have any comments? I don't have any opinion, that's it? Shen Yun didn't give Little Egg time to react and directly decided on the name. Little Dandan accepted the name Xiaobenda well. He shook it on Shen Yun's shoulder and had no other reaction. Shen Yun bent down and pulled out the large pliers that he had chopped off from the sand, put them away, and then continued to walk ahead. The road ahead was quite quiet. Not a single scorpion was seen. Maybe they were frightened and hid. After crossing this desert, we arrived at a normal land, a land with mountains, water, trees, and grass. Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that this place was full of extreme environments, so it would be nice to be normal. Shen Yun looked at the land in front of him and did not enter rashly. Instead, he sat directly at the junction to replenish the spiritual energy he had consumed. After these 2 days of fighting, although Shen Yun did not directly reach the 9th level of Qi training, he had reached the great perfection of the 8th level. The actual combat capabilities and response capabilities have also been greatly improved. Shen Yun is somewhat looking forward to the next trip. The consumed spiritual energy was replenished, and he walked forward directly under the weak morning light. This was already the 3rd day since he came in. If he went according to his previous calculations, he would have to go out on the 5th day, so he had to hurry up in the next time. In the normal realm, we did not encounter anything too dangerous. Among the lower level monsters, before Shen Yun could take action, Xiaobenda jumped directly over them. With a burst of bounding, he scared away many of them. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 96. Chapter 96 Playing with Fire and Burning Yourself. Shen Yun wanted to hunt a few of them, but he had no chance. Walking to a lake, I also found traces of people who had previously set up camp here. Maybe because they left suddenly, the tent was still standing here. Seeing such a tent appearing in the natural environment, Shen Yun felt quite warm in his heart. Walk directly over. Some of the remaining items in the tent have been disturbed by some small animals. Shen Yun immediately put away his things and packed the tent, planning to take it with him later and take it out directly when he went out. Walking around the edge of the lake, there was really no big danger. Only some small animals drinking water would attack if they were frightened. Shen Yun couldn't help but sigh. The people who came in last time were quite lucky. If the place they came in was a snowy area or a desert, the outcome would be hard to predict. Shen Yun took his things and left here to continue moving forward. He also encountered several kinds of spiritual herbs in the process. He did not let go of any of them and transplanted many of them in his own space. When we finally walked out of the woods, a bamboo house suddenly appeared in front of us. Shen Yun scanned it with his spiritual consciousness and found that the bamboo house did exist. Catch the egg that wants to jump over there. Go that way carefully. The bamboo house is well integrated into the surrounding environment, as if it is growing there. It is not conspicuous, but it cannot be ignored. Pushing open the door carefully, there was nothing inside. Shen Yun walked in, but the door behind him closed automatically. I was shocked, but I pushed the door but did not open it. Turning around again, the interior of the bamboo house was no longer made of bamboo, but was directly made of black iron. The door behind him disappeared, and a door appeared on the opposite side. Xiao Benda, you are an old man too. Do you know what is going on? Shen Yun did not act rashly now. His consciousness was always on the outside. His consciousness was not aware of the changes here just now. Obviously the current situation is definitely not as simple as walking from here to the opposite door. Little Benda didn't answer as usual, and jumped directly onto the fire on the wall and started to bake eggs. Shen Yun was speechless for a moment. Sure enough, this guy was only reliable once in a while. He carefully took 2 steps forward, and suddenly 2 puppets fell down in mid-air. There was nothing there just now, and Shen Yun didn't even notice how these 2 things appeared. Before Shen Yun could retreat, the 2 puppets attacked directly. Shen Yun didn't have time to think about anything and went straight to greet him. These 2 puppets have flexible bodies, unlike anything Shen Yun has ever seen. Shen Yun took a few moves and knew the strength of his opponent. Both of them should be at around the 3rd level of Qi training. Their cooperation was indeed very tacit. It took a lot of effort for Shen Yun to stop the 2 puppets. He breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the light that suddenly came on the door. Did he pass this level? Shen Yun did not rush to open the door, but just sat there and adjusted his breath. The technique continued to operate, and when the spiritual energy in his body was filled again, Shen Yun had already touched the threshold of the 9th level of Qi training. Little Benda, let's go and have a look at the door. Shen Yun greeted Little Benda, who was warming up by the fire, and went straight over to open the door. The 2 rooms are the same. Shen Yun was ready and stepped in directly. A puppet with an 8th level of Qi training appeared again. The same mode as before, just hit when you come up. The puppets have no weapons, they just use their bodies to move each move. Shen Yun also used the physical training skills he learned to directly take over. As he was making moves one by one, he realized that this puppet didn't seem to be trying to hurt himself, but rather seemed to be giving moves to himself. As he fought with puppets, Shen Yun became more and more proficient in physical training, and his body's toughness also slowly improved. When he had thoroughly mastered the physical training and Qi layer skills, the puppet stopped moving. Shen Yun looked at his thin-skinned but increasingly tough body, and was a little curious, where is this place? How come there are step-by-step instructions? This is great. After adjusting his breath for a moment, Shen Yun directly opened the next door. As soon as he entered, 2 puppets with the 4th level of Qi training appeared. They launched fierce attacks. Each move was the same as the puppets just now, but this was not like feeding moves, but like testing the teaching results just now. Facing 2 4th level Qi practitioners, Shen Yun was not afraid. Coupled with the teaching just now, Shen Yun stopped the 2 puppets without much effort. Pushing open the next door, there was a puppet holding a sword. Shen Yun understood it immediately, took out Qingfeng and faced it directly. The familiar feeding moves feel better than fighting monsters. Each move makes Shen Yun understand the Chaos Sword technique more deeply. With each move, Shen Yun directly uses the 2nd level of the Chaos Sword technique. The puppet didn't stop moving until the first 2 levels of the Chaos Sword technique were mastered. Shen Yun understood that the teaching time was over. Sit directly on the ground and adjust your breath. As the spiritual energy flows in, your cultivation level has naturally reached the 9th level. Pushing open the door on the next floor, 2 sharp sword auras came straight towards the door in front of me. Shen Yun quickly dodged and then fought with 2 puppets who were on the 6th level of Qi training. In the end, the robes on his body were completely scrapped, and the 2 puppets on the opposite side also lost their arms, and the battle stopped. In the next 2 layers, the first layer of spell teaching, Shen Yun can still be easily cope. The latter layer appears 2 9-layer French puppets. Shen Yun can only hide. In the end, Shen Yun got an afro, a beggar's uniform, and was tied to the ground with a cane. The 2 Dharma cultivator puppets disappeared from the spot. Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was not really directed at him, otherwise his life would have been at stake. Breaking free from the shackles of the cane, he looked up and saw the happy little Boomba roasting in the light. Shen Yun held his breath. He came in to be nursed, and others came in to enjoy life. Look at the eggshells that are roasted yellow and black. Oh, that's not right. Xiaobenda, you are playing with fire and burning yourself. Don't really roast yourself. I don't want to eat you. Who knows if you will get diarrhea. Shen Yun didn't bother arranging his hair and directly go over and take the eggs out of the fire. Black and yellow marks did appear on the eggshell, and even the cleaning technique couldn't remove them. However, the egg, which has been silent for a long time, can now feel a little continuous but weak vitality. Shen Yun felt happy and directly put the eggs into the fire pit again. Then he opened the next door directly. There were no puppets in this one, and it looked like a normal room. A few chairs, a table, and a jade slip placed on the table. Shen Yun picked up the jade slip and put it on his forehead, and a large amount of information poured directly into his mind. It turns out that this jade slip is an introduction to the secret realm. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 97. Chapter 97. I don't want to prove how thick my skin is in front of the crowd. This secret realm is a secret realm that can only be entered during the Qi training period. It is called Hongyuan Secret Realm. The moment he saw the name, Shen Yun also remembered that when he was reading about cultivation knowledge, he had occasionally seen a little introduction to this secret realm. There are some spiritual plant monsters here. In the past, it was a small secret realm that no one liked to enter. The aura is very thin compared to the outside, and there are fewer monsters. The way to enter the secret realm is through the teleportation array. Basically, everyone who meets the conditions can enter, which is incomparable to the secret realm that only appears once every few hundred years. This trial place is a little different from other secret realms. Generally, casual cultivators without sex like to come in to explore. Large sects and big families basically look down on such small secret realms, so when the spiritual energy dissipates, the spiritual energy of the small secret realms also dissipates a lot, and no one has time to notice this small secret realm. Shen Yun guessed that it had been hidden for thousands of years because no one paid attention to it. Perhaps due to the revival of spiritual energy in recent years, the small secret realm has gained some spiritual energy and is full of vitality again. Although no one could appreciate this secret realm before, Shen Yun felt that it was just right for people nowadays. People of this era have just realized the matter of cultivation. There is not much need for spiritual energy, so this secret place is a good place. Shen Yun thought about the people waiting outside, took out a blank jade slip from the space, and engraved the contents on the blank jade slip, so that he would not have to explain it himself when he went out to give it to Yan Han and others. Thinking about what the jade slip said, each person could only enter this secret realm once. Shen Yun didn't waste any time. He turned around without saying a word, picked up the little jumper and walked outside. The jade slip said that there is a water area here with many aquatic plants growing in it. Mosquitoes are also flesh even when they are small. Shen Yun decided to go and take a look first. The water is not far from here. As soon as Shen Yun got closer, he saw fish jumping out of the water. There were also many beautiful aquatic plants growing on the water. The scene of azure fish playing with lotus flowers is beautiful to look at, but the teeth in the fish's mouth are a bit scary. Shen Yun's footsteps stopped directly on the shore. Even if I were as big as I was, I probably wouldn't be able to squeeze through the teeth of this group of eyeing fish. Shen Yun looked at the little bunda next to him with some expectancy. It was motionless and even leaned back. It seemed that it was not an aquatic species and was a little afraid of water and cold. Shen Yun could only give up his thoughts. Looking at several spiritual plants not far away from him, Shen Yun cut a thick branch from the side and placed it directly on the water. Looking at the motionless fish under the water, he flew up, stood on tiptoes on the wood and walked towards the inside. As his body swayed on the water, his palms quickly passed over the water, and several spiritual plants appeared directly in Shen Yun's hands. He turned around and walked quickly towards the shore. In the water on both sides, because Shen Yun moved the spiritual plant, the big-mouthed fish jumped up in excitement. Shen Yun directly took out Qing Feng, bang bang bang, and knocked down the strange fish that rushed towards him. Fortunately, in mid-air, these strange fish had no place to rely on and fell directly into the water. In a few steps, Shen Yun had returned to the shore. Arrange the spiritual plants in your hands directly to a place with water in the space and continue to grow them. Looking at the spiritual plant farther away, Shen Yun could only sigh. There was no flying magic weapon in his own space. When he could control the sword, he would have to wait until he established the foundation. At that time, he would be ejected from the secret realm. Looking back, he saw the fish he had just photographed floating on the water with their white bellies turned over. I didn't use much energy just now. Shen Yun frowned and was a little confused. She temporarily forgot that she could lift hundreds of kilograms with her bare hands, so she just fished one out with a stick. Although this strange fish has a strange long head, its body looks like an ordinary fish. It looks a bit like monkfish, but the water in front of you is obviously not sea water. Shen Yun used a branch to pull it, but he couldn't identify the name of the fish based on his biological knowledge. As for the knowledge of cultivation, the space is slowly being piled up in warehouses. Shen Yun hasn't finished reading it yet. After pulling up a few pieces from the water, Shen Yun directly put them into the space. Thinking about the aquatic spiritual plants he had just planted, Shen Yun used a net to catch a few fish, which could be regarded as restoring the living environment of the spiritual plants. Shen Yun's several operations actually scared away the fish that were staring at her eagerly on the water surface. With his eyes brightened, he took the branch in the water and moved to another place. There were also a few old spiritual plants, which Shen Yun directly collected and put into the space. With almost all the water in the water, Shen Yun wandered around in the woods again, collecting everything he saw into the space. This space that has existed for thousands of years is indeed not fake. There are still many good things in it. Even if the ordinary spiritual plants and herbs are 100 years old, they are still good things. Shen Yun happily collected the gift. I directly found a secluded place to meditate. The spiritual energy in this place is so strong that it would be a pity not to practice. When I reach the 9th level of Qi training and go out to refine a boiled foundation pill, I will be ready to break through the foundation building stage. Maybe this year I won't have to take a car to go home for the new year, and I can go back by Fijian by then. Shen Yun is so old, thinking about it makes him feel very cool. After telling Xiaobenda to look at the situation around him, Shen Yun retained a trace of consciousness and directly concentrated his mind, entering the state of cultivation. He has been cultivating for a long time. When Shen Yun opened his eyes in surprise, he felt that the world was spinning, and a scene changed in front of him. Shen Yun looked at the people opposite who were stunned because of his appearance, and saw how these people pointed their weapons at him without saying a word. The sky was filled with quicksand, and the entire line of sight became blurred. "Brothers, please tell me what you have to say. Look at your armbands. We are all our own people. Put down your weapons and call Yanhan over." Shen Yun reacted quickly. Before Quickshaw appeared, he saw the armbands of the group of people on the opposite side and knew that they were all his own people. But he was relieved. Fortunately, this place has not been occupied by others in the past few days since I disappeared. But when thinking about the gun pointed at him, Shen Yun was still afraid that the other party would fire. Although the gun and ammunition could not hurt him, he did not want to prove how thick his skin was in front of a group of people. His consciousness was only focused on the situation outside. After watching Yanhan and the army captain Shen Xingqian being called over, Shen Yun watched with relief as the sand and dust faded away. "You little girl, you are so courageous. Captain Yan has been so anxious these days that his nose is smoking. Why don't you join our army?" Shen Xingqian spoke first. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 98. Chapter 98 Punishments and Rewards. The few elite scouts under his command had all shed some blood when they entered that place. This girl was fine at all. She looked energetic now, not at all haggard from staying in a strange place for a few days. This way talents are suitable for joining the army and making more contributions to the country. It is really a waste in special departments. "Captain Shen, I'm still here." Yanhan couldn't help but darken his face. This man was really careless. He started poaching in front of others. "Hey, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we are all brothers in the department and can contribute to the country wherever we are. Don't worry so much." Shen Xingqian is not a young man, and a few words of Han can't shock him. "Well, I'm afraid Captain Shen doesn't know much about our work." Shen Yun is still a student. "Our work can give her more time to study, which I'm afraid you can't do." Yanhan was not polite at all. "Oh, it turns out they are all named Shen. Girl, maybe our family was still a family 800 years ago. In this way, I can wait for you to graduate, and then you can choose to join our department." Shen Xingqian didn't care at all what Yanhan said. "What?" he said directly to Shen Yun. To be honest, this is the first time Shen Yun has seen someone poaching so hard. However, Yanhan is right. There are many things about him that cannot be exposed to more people at the moment. The army is indeed very good, but there are too many people. The special department is indeed your best choice at the moment. Thank you, Captain Shen, for your invitation. I am still mainly developing in Beijing. After I graduate, I want to engage in a job related to the major I studied. I may have to live up to your kindness." Shen Yun said politely. It turns out that the little girl has a goal for a long time. "Well, that's all. But if you change your goal in the future, you can come to me." Shen Yun knew that these were polite words. After all, Shen Xingqian didn't know his own strength now. With so many talents in a country, it was impossible to always leave a place for himself. Nodding, watching Shen Xingqian turn around and go to work, Shen Yun then looked at Yanhan with a cold face. He should have made his popularity bad by acting without permission. It was really a sin. However, Shen Yun felt that his action was worth it. After all, his current strength had made a qualitative leap. If he waited until he had established a foundation, he would realize that he had made a breakthrough. "If you don't go, then you will cry. Captain Yan, don't be so arrogant. I've already told you. It's after get off work hours and I'm not under your control," Shen Yun said with a smile, not bothering Yanhan's cold face. "You are not under my control during off-duty hours, but this place is under my control. Breaking into the controlled area without permission will have serious consequences. Don't rely on your ability to be unscrupulous. In our country, everything must be governed by rules and laws. Yan Han said seriously. After saying that, he rolled his eyes at Shen Yun, turned around and walked towards the tent next to him. Shen Yun followed directly. He must not have finished what he said, and he didn't know what else was waiting for him. After the two people left, the people from the military headquarters immediately surrounded the teleportation array. "Look, these are all your things." Yan Han entered the tent and handed Shen Yun a stack of documents. At the top is a letter of punishment for his unauthorized actions. He must go home and wait for his position to be reinstated, and then he must write a 5,000-word self-reflection. Shen Yun read through several pages of punishment notices. The specific contents were these two, which were also symbolic punishments. They were nothing to Shen Yun. After all, his usual state was to wait for summons, and he was usually fine. "Will let myself go to the special department." In addition, there was an internal commendation for third-class merit. He was given positive praise for discovering the teleportation array and rescuing several people. This was the first time Chen Yun saw this thing. He looked through it curiously. If it wasn't for the internal commendation, he could have taken this thing back to show to his grandparents. "I guess Grandma would be proud to start talking about the chickens at home. I applied directly for the few things you have done recently. There are also things to be rewarded. I have people leave them directly at the headquarters, and I will go and pick them up when you return. Let's talk about your private entry into the teleportation array now." Yan Han said selflessly. "I didn't come in privately. I said hello to you before that, but you didn't pay attention. Besides, how can you know the environment if you don't go in? How can you get this thing if you don't go in?" After Chen Yun finished speaking, he took out the jade slip carved in the secret realm directly from his pocket. "Then we can also ask the people who went in before what is going on inside. What if something unexpected happens if you go in so rashly?" Yan Han stood up and patted the table. "You can tell what's going on inside by just looking at this jade slip. The secret place is very big. Judging from the injuries of the people who entered before, you can tell that they have not reached the danger zone. The real danger lies in other places, which can kill people." Chen Yun handed the jade slip directly to Yan Han and asked him to look at it for himself. It would be better for him to look at it if he said too much. Yan Han followed Shen Yun's instructions on how to use the jade slips and directly put the jade slips on his forehead. A large amount of information poured directly into Yan Han's mind. After Yan Han reacted, he realized what Shen Yun had found inside. "No wonder I feel that your strength has increased again. It turns out that it is because of that. In this way, you first find a place to rest, and I will react to the boss first." After Yan Han finished speaking, he turned around and walked out. Shen Yun looked at the empty tent, borrowed a chair, and sat down directly there. The moment he was kicked out of the space, the spiritual energy in Chen Yun's body slowly changed from the shape of gas to the shape of water droplets, which is a symbol of foundation building. "I haven't taken the foundation establishment pill yet." Shen Yun quickly looked inside his dantian. The thick spiritual mist has now turned into a small pool of clear spring, making slight waves in the dantian. "Isn't it said that foundation building is difficult? Generally speaking, you can better advance to foundation building with the help of foundation building pills. Otherwise, it may be difficult to break through the cultivation barriers by yourself. When I first started cultivating inside, I absorbed spiritual energy just like before, and then the foundation was built naturally. This is too easy, right?" Shen Yun was full of doubts, but this meeting was still on someone else's territory, and she didn't dare to rush into the space to look for information. "I can only sit and wait. The severe cold is not slow at all, and it will come back soon. Pack it up, let's go back first and report the situation here." Yan Han came in with just one sentence, and left in a hurry. Shen Yun went out and returned to his dormitory, and saw several colleagues waiting at the door looking at him with concern. "I'm fine. Let Captain Yan tell you the specific situation." I have something to do now. I'll talk about it when we meet back in Beijing. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he quickly passed through several people. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 99. Chapter 99. Born with a large cheating device. Shen Yun didn't have anything to deal with. When he came, he stayed outside for a night and then went directly to the mission. He stayed in the secret realm for a few days and saw that several people were not surprised at the time of his appearance. Shen Yun estimated that he should have come out on the 5th day. I changed out of my tattered cassock, carefully put it away in the space, and then I was ready to set off. First we walked from the danger zone to the original camp, took the small package we brought with us, and were taken directly to the train station by car. It is much more comfortable than reversing the car several times when we came here. When I arrived at the station, I didn't even ask to wait. I got on the nearest train to Beijing. This time I went back half a day faster than when I came here. When I got off the bus, a bus picked me up directly at the station. I'll be disappointed later. Just report what you have seen and heard these days. Don't be nervous. As for the follow-up matters, there will be dedicated people to handle it. Shen Yun didn't forget to tell Shen Yun when he got into the car in the cold weather. Okay, I understand. Shen Yun nodded. Although this was the first time she met the superior of the special department, she had worked there in her previous life, so she was somewhat familiar with the matter of reporting. The car stopped directly at an office building, which looked much more formal than the headquarters of the special department. Shen Yun didn't ask any questions and followed Yan Han in. When the place was cleared, 5 people were already waiting there. Shen Yun glanced at them and felt that they looked familiar, but he had never met them in person. I can only stand calmly behind Yan Han and wait for Yan Han to report the matter first. Looking at the gentle faces of the big shots, Shen Yun was surprised. As expected, the big shots were all gentle yet serious. Unlike some people, their position is not high, but they have a bigger role than anyone else. The severe cold report ended quickly, and it was Shen Yun's turn next. Comrade Shen Yun, right? We have heard your name for a long time, and today is the first time we meet. Thank you for what you have done before. I also need you to answer some questions today, so I'm sorry to trouble you. The boss was very polite. After speaking, he gave Shen Yun some time to react, and then directly started to ask Shen Yun some things about the secret realm. Shen Yun didn't hide it either. Since the jade slips had been exposed to the severe cold, he must have known what he needed to know. Shen Yun carefully recounted all the scenes he encountered inside. He hid his cultivation a little, but it didn't delay anything. A few people listened to Shen Yun's careful description, but it was a bit more complicated than what Yan Han said. Comrade Shen Yun, can you come and go freely in this place? One of the people asked. That's not true. I haven't figured out how to deal with the teleportation array yet. Each person can only enter once. I won't be able to enter in the future unless I get stronger and see if I can study the principle of this teleportation array. Shen Yun he explained carefully that it wasn't that he didn't work, but that he couldn't help himself now. Several people on the opposite side nodded to express their understanding. Yan Han, you and Shen Xingqian should work together to solve the follow-up matters. Don't bother the 2 masters. If there are any problems later, you will report them. The matter of the secret realm was once again left to Yan Han. Yan Han nodded. Then the time for today's reporting work came to an end, and neither of them talked about a few things in total. Shen Yun followed Yan Han out silently. Where are we going now? Shen Yun asked Yan Han on the side. I have to go back. As for you, you can go back to the dormitory first, or you can choose to go back to your hometown and wait. We will come and find you when there is a task that needs you. After Yan Han finished speaking, he had already gone a long way. Shen Yun was a little speechless. He thought of himself as a fire brigade. When something happened, he thought of himself, and when nothing happened, he just let himself be. This was not the attitude the last time I let myself go. Shen Yun walked out of the office building, turned around and walked directly towards the train station. Anyone who was missing here could transfer, and he didn't have to wait here. He should go back and meet his family first. I happened to have luggage on hand. The train ticket purchase went smoothly. Everyone who was supposed to go home had already gone home. Shen Yun was the only one who left late during the holiday. Going back this time is a little less hesitant than the last time I went back. I already know my relatives there. We arrived at our destination in the middle of the afternoon, and we set foot on familiar land again after half a year. By the time we reached the town, the sky had darkened. Shen Yun did not continue on his way, but directly found a deserted place and entered the space. This is the first time I have entered the space after coming out of the secret realm. In an instant, I feel that the concentration of spiritual energy is much thicker than before. It seems that because I have upgraded in recent days, the concentration of spiritual energy in the space has also increased. He walked around with satisfaction. The spiritual plants he dug out from the secret realm were all living well in the space, and none of them died. Shen Yun also moved some other medicinal materials he picked directly to the warehouse while he had time. After a lot of work, Shen Yun returned to the database to look for something. I only know that I have the 5 elements spiritual root and can cultivate, but I never know what the specialness of my spiritual root is. Shen Yun decided to study it carefully today. Having a target, it is not difficult to find things. Shen Yun looked through a few jade slips and found the record about spiritual roots. Generally speaking, ordinary spiritual roots and simple mutant spiritual roots will have some level barriers when they are cultivated and upgraded. However, there are several spiritual roots that will not be present, such as the chaos spiritual root and the heavenly spiritual root, which will not have cultivation barriers. Shen Yun took a closer look and found that he was more in line with the situation of chaos spirit root. Looking at the cultivation situation of the chaos spirit root, Shen Yun realized for the first time that he might have been born with a large cheating device. After calming down his breathing, Shen Yun insisted on reading all the information. Next time he encounters different spiritual roots, he will try to see them at a glance instead of being confused for so long like himself. By the time Shen Yun had written down all the information in his head, it was almost dawn outside, so he stepped out of the space. Shen Yun took the luggage he had prepared in advance and found a place to eat in the town. He planned to visit his aunt's house for a while and then return to Baiyun village. As soon as Shen Yun arrived at the door of Wang's house, he saw Shen Huan going out and quickly said hello. Hey, that's right. Why are you back today? Shen Hua said in surprise. The school stuff is over and I'm back. I just happened to come over here to see you before I go back. How are you and your uncle doing recently? Shen Yun explained. Let's go inside first. When Shen Yun asked this, she unconsciously put a smile on her face, which showed that the situation must be good. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 100. Chapter 100. Someone is looking forward to his return. Sure enough, as soon as he entered the house, Shen Huiyan took Shen Yun's hand and said, "Your uncle went to check again. The doctor said that everything was fine." They couldn't believe it. After checking several times, they thought it was a mistake. Your uncle's old cough that he had for many years has now healed, and his health has improved a lot. I know it must not have been a mistake by the hospital, but that the medicine your grandfather got from somewhere worked. Your grandpa didn't let me tell you where he got the medicine. If someone asks you, don't say you know. Since their doctor saved our lives, we can't cause trouble to them. Shen Huan took Shen Yun's hand and explained. She didn't know that Shen Yun had brought out the things, but she still firmly supported the old man's words. Shen Yun nodded. It's a good thing that my uncle is well. Shen Yun was happy from the bottom of his heart. This man was her uncle who she saved, so it was worth it. Now your uncle is well and your cousin is doing well at work. If I find him a wife in the future, my life will be considered complete, Shen Huiyan said in a brisk tone, which shows that he still has many plans for his future life. Yes, my cousin and uncle have both gone to work, Shen Yun asked directly when he saw that there was no one else in the room. Yes, your uncle is restless. He went straight to work as soon as he recovered from his illness. He dragged Huang Bin with him every day, saying that before he retired, he could tell him about his many years of work experience. When you retire, you don't have to worry about him anymore, Shen Huiyan said with a smile. Then my cousin has made a lot of money. Isn't that right? You sit down first. I'll go to work to ask for leave. I'll have lunch at my aunt's house for lunch and stay there for a few days before going back. Anyway, there are still several days to celebrate the new year. Shen Huiyan stood up and said. No, Aunt, I just passed by here to have a look and went back in a while. I haven't been back for such a long time. Last time Grandma and the others wrote a letter and said they miss me. They will wait for me to go back and have a look, and then come to town again. I will definitely stay and eat the delicious food you made. Shen Yun quickly declined. If it weren't for the fact that the afternoon was not suitable for visiting people, Shen Yun would have come here yesterday evening and would not have planned to eat here early this morning. Breakfast. By the way, Auntie, this is what I bought for you. I put it here. I won't leave any food for today. Shen Yun divided out a portion of the package he was carrying, put it directly on the table, and said goodbye. Oh, it's so hard to come here and not have dinner here. Shen Huiyan held Shen Yun's hand and didn't let go. Auntie, when I go back to see my grandparents, I will definitely come to your house for dinner. Shen Yun did not stay here in the end. He said goodbye to Shen Huiyan and walked directly towards Baiyun village. It was summer when I came back last time, and the mountains were full of greenery. This time I came back in winter, and although it didn't snow, the paths were covered with leaves. The woods seemed more peaceful. When he first came back, Shen Yun had no cultivation. It took him half a day to get to Baiyun village. It was only around 9 o'clock in the morning that Shen Yun arrived at the place. Hey, the college students from Shen Lao-san's family are back. Did you bring anything for your parents and grandparents? As soon as Shen Yun entered the village, he saw several ants sitting there talking in the sun. I've seen them all before, but I'm really unfamiliar with them. Shen Yun couldn't even adapt to the look that came over him for a moment. Full of exploration, a little bit of gossip, a little bit of curiosity, but it's complicated. Shen Yun stood up straight and said, I brought some specialties from Beijing. My aunts are enjoying the sun. I'll go back and visit my grandparents first. Go, your family has probably been thinking about it for a long time. Several people waved their hands, not wanting Shen Yun to say anything. Shen Yun carried his luggage and continued walking upwards. Before he had gone very far, he heard some ants behind him gossiping. These college students are also very stingy. They are not willing to let us see the specialties of Beijing. But people are different. She has a really good figure, and she is well dressed. What kind of person do you think can marry this girl in the future? Shen Yun's keen sense understood the conversation clearly. Not wanting to hear the next words, she quickened her pace and withdrew her consciousness. Put your spiritual consciousness directly upward. Grandpa and Grandma, I'm back. Looking at Yang Kankan at her grandma's house, Shen Yun stopped directly at the door of the old house. A group of people inside heard his shouting and looked over in surprise. Shen Yun instantly felt that it was a good decision to go home. Some people were looking forward to his return. Oh, my eldest granddaughter, come in quickly. Although Yang Xiaoko is older, she has the fastest reaction. He came over directly. Shen Yun looked at her walking movements and knew that the old lady had done quite well in physical training in the past 6 months. As for my 2 aunts and my mother, they probably also practiced, but not very well. He was surrounded by a group of people and entered the courtyard. Yang Xiaoko took Shen Yun and looked at him. "Oh, I've lost weight again. This city doesn't support many people. Hurry up and get ready to cook. You must be hungry if you come back so early in the morning." Yang Xiaoko gave the order without saying a word, and took his 2 eldest daughters-in-law to prepare for lunch. "Grandma, I'm not hungry. Don't worry. I brought you something when I came back. Do you want to take a look first?" Shen Yun quickly grabbed the old lady and shook the bag in his hand. "How can you have money when you go to school? I will give you money to buy some good food and bring us something." Yang Xiaoko couldn't help but grinned when he heard Shen Yun say this, but he still complained. Shen Yun didn't care about this, and started to take things directly from the bag. Each woman in the family had a bottle of peach blossom cream made by herself. "Grandma, take it and use it. It's the same peach blossom frost that can make you younger." Last time Shen Yun smiled and distributed the things to everyone. "You girl, you know how to tease your grandma." Yang Xiaoko knew that Shen Yun did this himself, so he was not polite. Then there were a few pieces of clothes, 1 jacket for each elder, or the new down jacket from Peng Cheng. There were 8 jackets in total, which almost wiped out Shen Yun's savings, but seeing a few people complaining, their faces, Shen Yun felt that the smile that could not be concealed was nothing. "By the way, hurry up and get the coat we made for the girl." Yang Kankan saw that his daughter was happy, and he directly put the child in his arms into his niece's hands. While greeting, he pulled Shen Yun towards the house. After a while, Shen Yun put on a red double-breasted jacket, black cotton trousers, and a pair of cotton shoes. It was so comfortable that she didn't want to take it off. "By the way, Mom, why didn't you see Dad, Uncle, Cousin, and the others?" Shen Yun turned around and saw no other men except Grandpa for a long time. "We didn't have to be busy with farming today. Where did this man go?" End of this chapter.